Okay, so I think we're going to officially start our program now. We were changing things around a little bit because we were waiting for some people to come and join us. But welcome. This is the official welcome now. My name is Jennifer Ulix. I'm the Student Activities Director. This is the January Student of the Month. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with us today. Thank you to Wildcat Productions for filming for us today. This will be up on the website for you, so if you'd like to download it, feel free to do so. Thank you to our staff and faculty for taking the time to recognize our students. And thank you to Kelly Brogio. She's over in the corner. She does all the behind-the-scenes work for us to get today set up, and Michelle Jones for our photography. And the most important is Jack, and he hates when I do this. He is the owner of the Libertyville Domino's, and he sponsors our event today, and he sends the kids home with a large free pizza certificate. So you guys are buying dinner this weekend. So thank you, Jack, for doing that for us. And students, you're going to go home with some other trinkety things in your packets. Thank you very much to Dr. Scott for being our MC today. And students, what's going to happen is the teacher's going to come up here, and we ask you to stand right next to the podium so we can all stare at you and make you feel uncomfortable. But really, we're celebrating with you. But stand right here so we can get you in the frame of the camera. And teachers are going to share the reason why you've been selected today. And we don't give them specific criteria by which to choose students. It's really up to them to decide why they're recognizing you today. And students, you should feel pretty special because you've been selected out of 2,000 students. And you'll see by the end of the period, there will be students walking by just looking, saying, how can I be Student of the Month? So it is quite an honor. Parents, feel free to take photos along the way. And without further ado, Dr. Scott, come on up and get us started.
The only important person that you didn't thank was yourself. Mrs. Ulix is a great activity director and is behind all things like this that celebrates students. And it is such a nice way to end a Friday celebrating students. And hopefully you feel it's a celebration for yourself as parents too, because you send us, we always talk about how great our students are here. It's because you send us great young men and women to work with. This is a small, intimate group today, so it's kind of nice. Sometimes when that happens, teachers talk a little bit longer, so let's see what happens today. We're going to start with Miss Hyla because she has food in the oven down in her foods lab, and she is going to introduce Merrick.
Welcome, everybody. So I am one of the foods teachers here at Libertyville High School. The best job ever, don't tell anybody. And the best class ever. And I do hate to run, but we have a really big project today, so that's why they're letting me go first, which is so nice. But I want to tell you a little bit about Merrick. So Merrick is in my third period foods class, and he is a freshman, which is really hard to be a freshman in high school. And it's really hard to choose a student of the month sometimes because we have so many wonderful kids that go here. But the reason that Merrick stands out is because right away, they select their groups. He's in a group of 3 boys, which are all freshmen, and is one person less than a normal lab group. And right away, he stood out as the leader of his group, kind of helping and directing, really good at asking questions, really good at following a recipe, really good at taking initiative and following directions, which I really appreciate. But also, he's really good at participating in class. He's always on time. He became quite popular. My classes are available freshmen through seniors, so it's always a really nice mix of kids. And all of the older kids really grew to love him so much, because he's really funny and responsible and adds a lot to our class. But even more so than that, during third period is when we have extra time, kind of like our homeroom is what most of you would recognize it as. And during the fall semester, we have a big project called Make-A-Wish, and that's where we raise money to buy presents for families in need. And Merrick was just so wonderful at helping out. We did so many bake sales, and he took the initiative to volunteer and give up his lunch period to do all of that. And so he just is really kind, and he's really wonderful, and I hope that I get to have him again as a student. And I just wanted him to know that I recognized all of the awesome things that he's been doing to help our class out and to help our third period Make-A-Wish was really successful, and it was because of kids like Merrick who really helped out. So thank you so much, Merrick.
Merrick, do you test out those recipes at home too? Do you cook for your family? Merrick, do you cook for your family? Do you test out those? Sometimes? Cool. Next we have Mrs. Getch, and she's substituting for Mrs. Giard, who couldn't be here, to introduce Aaliyah.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jenny Getch. I'm the Department Supervisor for International Languages, and Mrs. Giard couldn't be with us today, so I'm going to read what she wrote about Aaliyah, her student. She said, Aaliyah is a student who values learning and is able to connect what she knows outside of the classroom. She is an excellent and resilient learner. She does not let setbacks get in her way and is able to focus on the ultimate goal of being a fabulous French speaker. She has a wonderful attitude. She is a tireless worker and always gives 100% in class while working hard every day outside of class as well. Mrs. Giard knows she can count on Aaliyah to come to class every day ready to work and with a smile and a positive attitude. She's excited to find connections about what they learn in class with her own world, and she thinks that she understands the bigger picture about why French is important and how much fun it can be. She shared with Mrs. Giard how excited she was to be able to understand some of the places her family and friends were visiting. She's planning a trip to Canada to put her French to the test. She is a joy to have in class. Her positive attitude is very motivating to Mrs. Giard as well as the other students. And I'm going to apologize in advance for my pronunciation because I do teach Spanish, but she wanted to say to you, she wanted to say, Félicitations et bon travail. So, congratulations.
Next we have Mr. Brenner, and he's introducing Olivia.
Hello, I'm Rick Brenner, and I teach math, and this is Olivia. And I nominated Olivia for a couple of reasons. I would like to echo what Dr. Scott said. We really do have really good kids here. She wasn't just saying that for your benefit. And it is hard to choose, and so it is an honor that you've been chosen to be here. And Olivia deserves to be here. She's a great kid. I have her in honors geometry, which is one of the more challenging classes at this school, but that's not why she's up here. I'm also familiar with the family. I had her brother in class, and that's not why she's up here either. And she speaks appropriate English, but that's not why she's up here either. The day before Christmas break, she brought fudge for the entire class. That's why she's up here. That's a lie. That's not why she's up here either. Similar to what Ms. Hyla said, we just finished the Wish Project, which is where the kids organized a fundraiser and raised money for buying gifts for less privileged families in the community right before Christmas. And she was one of my wish leaders, and that actually is why I nominated her for this. Now, credit where credit's due, there were actually 3 leaders, so it was a little bit hard to make the choice. So help me here, McKenna and Alex also deserve part of the credit, but I felt like Olivia really stepped up and took charge of the Wish Project. Plug your ears for a second. I think she was the best wish leader I have ever had. And I've been here a long time. She organized all of the fundraising projects, again, with help from the other 2. But she did step up as the leader. We had a fundraiser at a local restaurant. She solicited donations. Donations came in from a parent. She encouraged her fellow classmates to work for the goal. They decided to choose a large family. You can choose a small, medium, or large family and then decide how much money you want to raise. And we had a small class, only 24 students, and they decided to try to raise $600. And I was like, yeah, that's a lot, guys. But again, she took charge and she got the job done. And in fact, when all was said and done, they had almost $1,000 in their kitty. which is by far more than I have ever seen. I think they were $33 short of $1,000. And again, it wasn't all Olivia, because there were 3 leaders, but I think it was mostly Olivia. Don't tell the other 2 I said that. And just what an outstanding leader. I do think she was one of the best that I had ever had at running this project, plus all those other things I said. Congratulations, Olivia.
Right here? Yeah, right here is fine. Don't forget to get your pizza. That's the important part. And here's yours. Olivia, were you able to volunteer the night when the families pick up their gifts? Oh, with all the work you put into it, you'll have to do that someday, because that's the really rewarding part of all that fundraising, to see their faces. Next, we have Mr. Schaefer, and he's going to introduce Lauren.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Bo Schaefer. I teach human genetics. This is Lauren Brennan, and she's not a freshman. She's a senior. And Lauren, well, she's an amazing person, obviously. And I felt like I had to wear some amazing clothing today because I was talking about her. So I teach a 1-semester class that ends now for the seniors, and so I wanted to make sure they had the opportunity to talk about Lauren. That's why instead of picking one of my amazing freshmen, I picked one of my amazing seniors. Now, the thing that's special about Lauren, too, is that I had her as a freshman, and this becomes more like a Lifetime Achievement Award because she's been awesome for 4 years. And when she was in my class freshman year, I mean, she was impressive then. Then she would stop in and say hi to me and talk to me once in a while. Who doesn't love that when a kid comes by to talk to you, out of nowhere? So that counts for a lot, really. And then, I get to have her in my class again, and she's a very amiable person. She will sit there and talk to you about matters having nothing to do with school, about stuff that's going on at home and things like that, and it's just really nice to talk to somebody like that who's a student of yours. And she's also probably the single hardest worker I've ever seen. You cannot outwork Lauren. It's impossible. When she wants something to be done, she just flat out gets it done. And if you say something in class that's just not enough, then be ready to say it again about 50 more times because you better do it right. And she's made me a better teacher just by having her in class. But she's going to be great at whatever she wants to do because that's just the way she is. And she's the quintessential first child, and she's a fantastic leader and directs people very well. And so it's been a pleasure to have her in class. It's going to be kind of sad not having her next semester, so, I'm going to try not to weep, but, I wanted to make sure to honor her in this. And the one thing I really tried hard to do last night is find a really good story about her that would just really, really embarrass her. And I really had a hard time because I can't really do it very well. So the only thing I could come up with is that I have this one rule in class: you're not supposed to eat. I don't like eating in class because it's sloppy and, other things. But so, and kids get hungry, 7th period, and once in a while some kid will eat something. I'll say, excuse me, remember, we're not supposed to be eating. And they'll say, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Schaefer, and put away their food. So Lauren's a nibbler. She likes to nibble. So she's sitting there with her food on her desk, and, I walk by, Lauren, we're not supposed to be eating. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Schaefer. And she puts, she's got this big smile on her face, puts her food away. 2 days later, same thing. 4 days later, same thing. And then I'm just like, Lauren, you're not really sorry, are you? So that was like the best story I could come up with, but it was pretty funny. So thank you, Lauren, for being amazing. Loved having you in class for 2 years of the 4 you've been here. So best wishes to you.
And Mr. Schaefer can rest assured you're going to come back and visit him. Yeah. He won't be hard to find with those pants on, will he? And I have to say, while he was speaking about you, Mrs. Ulix was also whispering in my ear, she is an awesome link crew leader. So I wanted to say that out loud too. Next we have Mr. Gore nominating Carson together with Mr. Carnstead. But I believe Mr. Gore is going to do the speaking today.
Right. Hi there. I'm Adam Gore. I'm one of the band directors here, and I'm here on behalf of myself and Mr. Carnstead and actually Mr. Helvey as well. And you could probably throw Dr. Brown into the mix too, just because Carson's one of those kids. When we select our Student of the Month nominees from the music department, we kind of all get together and decide via email who we think is a great representative of the various grade levels. And Carson's one of those because I don't actually have Carson in class. He's actually in Mr. Helvey's class, but we see him a lot because I see him because he's involved with the marching Wildcats with us and was on the drum line. And if you've been around in the fall at all and in our prolonged football season this year, the drum line got a lot of work. And then Mr. Helvey sees him in class every day. He participates in our jazz bands with Mr. Carnstead and works with him there. He even volunteered to help out at not one but two holiday concerts playing along with the choir with Dr. Brown recently. So he's one of those really active and involved kids. And it's not just about being active and involved. Carson's a great, very skilled musician. He's in our Symphonic Winds, which is a very selective band. It's very unusual for a freshman to be up in that group, but he made that happen through his hard work. And you can see that even today, 7th hour, he had his last link crew, so he's getting ready for that. But first half of 7th period, instead of being at lunch, he was down in the band room practicing on the marimba, getting some more stuff ready to go. So really hard worker. And I think probably what makes him stand out is not just great musical skill and great attitude and willingness to participate and constantly improve. But I look at his peers. He's on the snare line this year and the drum line. And while high school students may not always have the world's best judgment, it's fun to watch them interact with each other. And Carson is one of those folks who, as a freshman, surrounded by a lot of juniors and seniors, really commanded the respect of those kids. And that's not an easy thing to do, particularly as a new guy who's only been at the school for days. But there were upperclassmen looking to him, and I think they showed great judge of character in the respect that they showed. And I know he's going to have a great career here with us, and I'm really proud to be nominating him for the Student of the Month for the music department.
Congratulations, Carson. You sound like the workhorse of that department, that's for sure. Yeah.
He's putting Olivia to shame.
Congratulations. I'll look for you on that drum line. Next we have Mr. McCusker, and he's here for Mr. Thompson, and he's going to be introducing Alex.
Chelsea, so that's a good start. Hi, I'm Mr. McCusker, and I just met Alex. But I like his shirt in Chelsea soccer. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So you might be saying, okay, how is it that Mr. Thompson isn't here? Mr. Thompson's upset because he couldn't be here on Monday, and this is his last chance to meet with a student that he had to work with. So he apologized, and we sat and talked a little bit so I could do a good job, okay? So every day I get this in the mailbox. I always read it to hear like all these exceptional things. Like you have anything that you do, ups and downs, and this is like a booklet of really awesome things that are taking place. And so as I was reading this, I stopped and I read this, and I'm like, oh, that's an awesome write-up. Who's that from? I'm like, social studies. We're awesome. That happens. So if you read through that description, I'm going to read exactly what Mr. Thompson said. Alex comes to class prepared every day and works extremely hard. One of the biggest challenges in World History Honors is that we discuss so many different places and time periods. But Alex continuously makes connections between different time periods and places throughout the world. This is something history teachers get really excited about. We really do. You teach 10,000 years and have people put something 10,000 years apart together, and we're like falling all over our place, cartwheels in the hallway, right? So when students make that connection and inferences, it's very exciting. And really what we're here to do is make connections. If you can make connections across thousands of years, the way that Alex does, by the way, in a class that's, some gifted and talented people, and in a class of gifted and talented people who are there to make connections, if you're the one making connections that stands out, that speaks very highly of you. So thank you very much, Alex, for being that person. I apologize again, Mr. Thompson couldn't be here, but he spoke so highly of you, I'm quite impressed. Thank you so much. And then we'll take my head off and put Mr. Thompson's.
Alex might have been a candidate for one of our new AP freshman courses, right? Next, we have Mr. Lapish, and he's introducing Anna.
Okay, I'm Mr. Lapish. I teach English, and this is Anna Walski, one of my students. First off, before she got up here, I had 1,200 students give me bribes. She didn't have to bribe me to get up here. Just want to make sure that's clear. She got up here on her own merits. One of the things that I think of myself as is a precise thinker. And in English, when you're getting into nitty-gritty, or if you're a math teacher, you have to be nitty-gritty too. And Mr. Schaefer referenced the idea that his student, whose name I've already forgotten, but who I was talking to at Lauren, how she makes his teaching better. And oftentimes students will do that for us. And I think that one of the things about Anna is she's also very precise with everything. And there are so many times when I'm listening to her argument, and she probably sees it like my wheels are turning, like, what am I going to say next? She's got me on that one. And it happens all the time where I'm like stumped, like, how can I reason through this one? And that always keeps me on my toes, and I'm thinking, okay, then I'll think of something. And usually she goes, okay, I can buy that. Whatever it was he said, I can bet that works. And one of the funniest things that happens in this class is, and I mentioned this in the little write-up I did, which I forgot my glass at the table and couldn't read it anyway from here, that she has a classmate sitting near her with whom she often gets into discussions with. You know who I'm talking about, right? Okay. So they get into discussions. Now, sometimes when students get into debates in class, and all of us as teachers know this, it's a distraction from class. You know, they'll start to talk about something that's inane and not really germane to whatever you're talking about. So they'll say something like, no, Star Wars, no, Star Trek. And they'll go back and say, this has nothing to do with what we're discussing. They want to debate that. And that's the kind of things they do. But with Anna, I don't have an exact example, but I'm going to give an example of the type of way she would discuss with this other student and sometimes with me. Like, no, I think that verb doesn't work precisely in this particular place. This verb would have worked much better. And then you put this verb in there and you figure it out and you go, yeah, that works pretty well there. That's the kind of debate she has with this other student. It's like back and forth, nitty-gritty little things. And you can understand that there's a really deep thinking process going on there. So these are the reasons that I recommended Anna. And you can read the rest of it too. She always has, I mean, she knows she could be teaching my class. If I were absent, I don't need a sub. I can just say, Anna, here, figure something out. And she can just probably do that. She knows what's happening in the Odyssey more than every other student, and almost most of the time more than me. So she'll bring up characters that I don't remember existed in there. She'll say, what about this guy? I was like, oh yeah, he's in there too. Yeah, nice one, Anna. Tell me more about that one, and then it'll work. So anyway, these are the reasons that I recommended Anna, and she definitely deserves to be here as well. And I have a little extra money from the 1,200 students' bribes. If anybody wants to see me after this, I'll be happy to give you some.
And don't forget your pizza. And Mr. Stewart is next from Physical Welfare, introducing Brandon.
I'm very proud to nominate Brandon Brown this semester as my PE Student of the Month. I've been at LHS for 6 years, and every single year that I do a Student of the Month, it's always a difficult decision. This year, it was not. Not to say that I don't have any other great students, because I do have many great students, as you guys have heard. But Brandon was a no-brainer this year for the following reasons. Brandon is a great leader inside and outside of class. He is always kind to his classmates and quick to lend a helping hand when needed. He is the type of kid who always encourages teammates and brings the best out of them. I have noticed this behavior in class, the swimming pool, the hallways, and at after-school events at LHS. What is most special about Brandon is his heart for others. This was evident during our WISH project. You guys have heard all about what it is, so I'm not going to explain what it is. He was quick to raise his hands when I asked who was interested in being our WISH leader this year. Students tend to be a little bit shy, especially in an all-freshman class, because they have no idea what to expect. Not Brandon. He organized fundraisers that led to us raising over $350 for our family, and $350 for a group of freshman boys to raise is outstanding. He also went out shopping for the presents, and he went a little above and beyond. Our family had 3 young girls, and on their wish list was dolls, Barbies, and doll houses. And this did not deter Brandon's enthusiasm about going out shopping for them. He was all about it, and you could tell that it was something that totally was not in his favorite type of category, but he still put everything into the shopping effort as well. And he also volunteered his time to work the Wish dinner night. It was awesome. I was also working it. I was in the gym, and I noticed Brandon right when he got into the gym. He grabbed a few of the little kids and started a basketball game, and should have really seen the smile from the kids when they were playing with you. It was something else. In class, Brandon never asks if I need help putting equipment away. He just does it. I guarantee that if you ask other teachers, coaches, or his classmates, they would say the same about him. At LHS, Brandon is on the swim team. He was actually recruited by the swimming coach from watching him and hearing about his swim performance in PE class. Outside of school, Brandon is very involved in the Boy Scouts. He is currently 1 step away from earning the Eagle status. He plans to complete his community service project this summer, and that will earn him the highest rank in the Boy Scouts. I'm very proud to nominate Brandon Brown, like I said, as my PE Student of the Month. Way to go, Brandon.
Congratulations, Brandon. And you failed to mention his comedic tendencies. He had some great facials up here. He had some great. Next, Miss Anderson is going to introduce Derek to you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mrs. Anderson. And the reason that I am introducing Derek to you as my nominee for Student of the Month today is because he has really stood out to me this semester. At the beginning of the year, I'm a social worker in the G through P learning support team, and so I have a little bit of a different relationship with the students than the teachers, and I don't get to see them as often or with as much regularity. At the beginning of the year, I introduced myself to all the new students, and I'm new this year too. So that was kind of special to me to get to introduce myself to the new students, and Derek stood out to me right away. And the reason why is because usually I'll introduce myself to a new student, and then if I say hi to them, they'll be a little embarrassed and maybe sheepishly wave hi back. But Derek would never be like that to anyone who he had met. And he always enthusiastically greets me warmly when he sees me, just like I see him do with everyone that he encounters in the hallway. And I've had the pleasure of working with Derek off and on this fall, and I've been really impressed with how, as a new student here, he has been an exemplary academic student, and I have seen him continue to be, just like many of the students that have been presented here today, the first person to volunteer if there's an opportunity to serve others, the first person to volunteer if I need assistance, even without me asking, right? I needed someone to write on the board for me, and he said, oh, I'll do it. Didn't even ask. He just took it off my plate. And I think that seeing Derek flourish when it's hard to be new at a school and do so in a way that's so authentic and so natural just really stuck out to me about what a kind of a person he is. And I've been really grateful to have him as a part of our LST. Our whole team has been, and we're just looking forward to watching him continue to grow here. And yeah, I think that's about it. We're just really proud of him and wanted to honor him today.
Derek, I don't know if you remember one day when I was observing Miss Anderson, you happened to be in a group she was working with, and I noticed those same things about you immediately that you described up here, his warmth, his openness, his support for other people. So that's evident to probably most people that encounter you. Next, we have Mr. Thompson, and he's introducing Tobias.
Tobias is in my electronics class, and I don't think he realizes how big of a deal this is. I was in my 8th period class today, just getting them started, and they said, where are you going, as my sub came in? I said, well, I'm going to Student of the Month for freshmen. And I have about, out of that class, probably 60% of those kids are freshmen. And they said, well, why am I not nominated? I said, well, you're all outstanding, but one stood out even farther. Then one of those students happens to be my son, who said, and he's a freshman as well, and so he said, as I'm walking out, he goes, I disown you as my father. So Tobias, that's how important this is today that you've received. I now only have a daughter, I guess. I nominated Tobias just because there's something that really stood out to me. Tobias was out of school for about a week once, and we send homework home then for the students that are out for a little bit longer than a couple days or so. And to my surprise, I received an email that night with all the assignments scanned and finished. Finished them, scanned them to me so he could turn them in there. And I've been now teaching a couple years. And in those 2 or 3 years, I have never had that happen, and that was shocking to me, but just really impressed me with his willingness to get his work done, even when he wasn't feeling as well as he should have. And but there's another thing too that stood out to me too. I teach with electronics. We teach. I'm not going to get into series and parallel circuits. I mean, Bo Schaefer probably knows all about that because he's a science teacher. But it's not easy for a lot of students to understand. And after the first couple days of doing it, and he was just catching on and doing it and helping other students with it, I asked him, so have you done this before? And he goes, no, never. I was amazed at how quickly he learned how to do those things. Then we did a digital project too that he finished way before anybody else. I had to kind of keep trying to give him more stuff to do because he was always done with it. As soon as I gave it out, it was almost like the next minute it was done. I'm going, okay, now can you help him? And he would. Just as an outstanding, just young man in terms of everything he does. He tries not to smile in class, but he does. I have to take his hood off once in a while, but he's just a great kid to have in class, and I really do enjoy having him in class. And just remember, you beat my son out. Congratulations.
I hope his son gets over this, don't you? You know what though? When you did pull his hood off when you came in here, and he did turn around and smile at you. I did catch it at that time. And I believe that's everybody. Just let me scan the room just in case I forgot anybody. Thanks again for coming. I hope you leave with the same overwhelmingly positive feeling about the relationships here between students and teachers that I leave with every time we have a Student of the Month. Thanks again for coming. Your support, we rarely have a student not supported by someone in their family or immediate friends to come here to support them as well, and I think that's what makes them so successful here too. So have a great weekend. Please enjoy some of the hors d'oeuvres at the table, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Thank you.